Jared Leto thanked his followers on X for making Tron Ares the #1 movie in the world, which technically it is, and if that is all you see, that does appear great. But zoom out a little bit, and you'll find the Hollywood trades are all in shock over how badly the movie is flopping, and the Hollywood Reporter is openly questioning if this is the end for Jared Leto. Let's see why it just might be. This video is sponsored by Surfshark. When Jared Leto claims Disney's Tron Ares is the #1 movie in the world, he is not wrong, but it won by default, due to Hollywood having razed itself and the entertainment landscape to the ground, in no small part by gambling on projects and on messaging there was no demand or sympathy for among the audiences of the world. 1 week ago, Tron Ares was projected to open to 45 to 50 million domestically and 90 million worldwide. But once the audience saw the movie and word of mouth spread, those projections were adjusted ever downwards until the opening weekend actuals revealed a mere 33 million opening domestically and barely 60 million worldwide. A disaster for a movie with a budget in the $180 to $200 million range. What makes matters worse is that in this day and age, the aftermarket revenue streams, which bailed out both the original Tron and Tron Legacy, have been wiped out by streaming. That's bad news, not just for Disney, but for Sony and Amazon, who have bankrolled the next upcoming would-be blockbuster headlined by Jared Leto. In short, Hollywood right now is questioning everything they just assumed had to be so, both in terms of what projects to focus on and which stars to push into the limelight. We are about to get into that, but before we do, let's briefly look at something that is beyond question, namely the many advantages of Surfshark VPN, which will protect your data and secure constant access. And for me, now that I am back in my native Norway for the indefinite future, securing constant access is of particular importance. What I've found since my return is that quite a few of the web pages I sometimes visit are blocked, either by national decree for political purposes or even by my local internet provider for other reasons. Surfshark has the fix for it. By changing my virtual location, I'm able to unblock all regionally blocked websites, thus giving me the freedom and access I need in my work. So it's good knowing that Surfshark has over 3,200 servers in more than 100 countries around the world. There is of course a leisure component to this as well, as changing your virtual location also gives some great advantages when it comes to streaming. Case in point, you can access 15 different Netflix libraries, all with a different selection of movies and TV series. And this of course comes on top of all of Surfshark's other features devoted to protecting your data and privacy. And since they sponsor this channel, we naturally have a deal for you. If you use our link surfshark.com/midnight or use code MIDNIGHT at checkout, that triggers a special offer of 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN for free. Surfshark also offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk in trying it out at surfshark.com/midnight. With that, let's get back to the big problem facing Hollywood, which in this particular case is represented by the further humiliation of one Jared Leto. Yes, I said further humiliation, because this is not the first time that Jared Leto has been given the center stage only to fall flat on his face. Now, to be clear, Jared Leto is a multi-talent, having enjoyed successful careers both as an actor and as a musician. He has been around since the early 90s and he has paid his dues and been awarded with a host of awards for stellar performances, in most notably Requiem for a Dream and Dallas Buyers Club. And it is in more artistic heavy drama such as these, where Jared Leto truly shines and will elevate any project he is in with his mere presence and performance. Alas, his agents and representatives were able to somehow convince the Hollywood power players that his penchant for excelling in very serious dramatic roles also meant the audience would accept him as the leading man in compatibly lowbrow popcorn fare for the masses. In the early days of Zack Snyder's DC Extended Universe, prior to the backlash to Batman v Superman, Jared Leto was cast as the Joker in the original Suicide Squad in what was supposed to be a recurring role over many movies to come, and he was cast with great fanfare. One producer even said, "Who wouldn't want to see Jared Leto as the Joker?" Well, as it turned out, quite a lot of people. For one thing, it didn't help that he followed immediately in the footsteps of Heath Ledger, who one can argue gave so much for the role it ended up ending him. Many a fan were skeptic about Leto from the moment he was cast, and more were hesitant the moment we saw the first stills of a tattooed Joker with grills. Leaked reports from the set about how method Leto had gone in his performance, like sending dead rats and used condoms to his co-stars, and overall being a nuisance to be around because he went that far into character, did not make anyone more interested in seeing the movie, quite the contrary. It should be noted that many of Leto's extant fans reminded the critical fans that there had been skepticism towards Michael Keaton as Batman back in the day as well, yet he won everyone over once the movie came out. And the same thing could happen here, but it didn't. Through no fault of Jared Leto's, Suicide Squad was always a troubled production, which was further compromised by Warner freaking out and changing it into an extended music video following the backlash to Batman v Superman. When it inevitably flopped upon release though, however unfair it may or may not have been, Jared Leto was, in no small part, blamed for that failure, due to his Joker having been a bit too much. Adding insult to injury, Warner made another Joker movie altogether starring Joaquin Phoenix, which Leto actively campaigned against, as he was supposed to be the only Joker. Yet that movie turned out to be a massive hit, for which Leto was bullied tremendously online. Outside of a later cameo in the Snyder Cut of Justice League, Leto was done with Joker. He did, however, get another major comic book movie role soon after. Still believing Jared Leto to have major commercial appeal, Avi Arad and Matt Tolmach, the then power players over at Sony's shared Spider-Man villain cinematic universe not featuring Spider-Man, or the Venomverse as I like to call it, cast Jared Leto as Morbius the Living Vampire. Alas, the movie turned out to be a hot mess, because with the exception of lucking out with Venom, Arad and Tolmach's Spider-Man 3 Spider-Man villain cinematic universe turned out to be a bomb factory, and Morbius was the ordinance which demonstrated just that to the world, and Jared Leto was the public face of it. In front of the entire world, Leto had now failed with both DC and Marvel, and adding insult to injury, James Gunn was clearly no fan of his, calling him out for his alleged penchant for, shall we say, chatting up women significantly younger than him, and he also had Peacemaker explicitly refer to his band as, shall we say, somewhat overrated on screen. Luckily, then there was Tron Ares to restore Leto's fading star. This then takes us to Tron Ares, a movie headlined by Jared Leto, and which we now know turned out to be another major flop, and if anything, a bigger flop even than the previous ones we covered. By now, the Hollywood power players that were pushing Jared Leto no longer believes in his ability to be the main draw for a major motion picture, as evident by this piece appearing in The Hollywood Reporter, one of the Penske publications that not only keeps the industry up to date with the latest news, but which also serves the Pravda-like function of disseminating which attitudes and opinions are acceptable at any given time, as well as who's in and who's out. To wit, the piece "No one asked for this reboot. Tron may mark the end of Jared Leto's franchise-leading days," has the byline, "As Ares disappoints, insiders question whether the self-styled boundary-pushing A-lister can still be counted on to carry a franchise vehicle to the bank." Of course, that question being asked so prominently in a trade such as this means the answer is no. They're just running through the motions here. The piece proper reads, "Like a light cycle slamming into a jet wall, Tron Ares was savagely de-rest at the box office this weekend, bringing in at least 10 million less than its projected opening gross. Actually, almost 20 million less. The Disney sci-fi tentpole pulled in a dismal 33.2 million from 4,000 theaters against a net production budget of at least 180 million that Disney will admit to. Overseas, the sci-fi epic also failed to connect, grossing 27 million for a global start of 60.2 million. Some at Disney were always concerned only die-hard fans would show up, which isn't a Leto issue but an IP problem. They were right. After praising Leto's willingness to do stunts, the piece continues. But stunts might not be enough to distract from a spate of negative headlines after Airmail collected 9 allegations from women who described disturbing conduct, ranging from flirtatious overtures when they were minors to episodes of exposure. His representatives denied everything, but alarmed Disney executives had no idea whether other accusations might emerge. It didn't happen, and Leto embarked on a global promo tour. He was the face of the Ares Tron campaign and was a consummate professional throughout, studio insiders say. That's nice of them to say, but what most agents and power players reading this will take away is, however talented and professional Leto may be, this guy isn't worth the risk. The piece states, "An agency partner says the studios already had stepped away from the actor as a leading man choice after the failure of Sony's Spider-Man universe spin-off Morbius, which opened to 39 million stateside en route to a not good 167 million globally in 2022. In a world where Michael Fassbender, Ewan McGregor and Benedict Cumberbatch are having a hard time getting lead roles, why would you even go to a person who can't open a movie and who has question marks around him as a person?" asks one top talent manager partner. Good thing for Leto he already has his next big movie in the can then, as the piece continues. He next stars in MGM and Mattel's Masters of the Universe as He-Man's high-pitched antagonist Skeletor. It could be a good career move, embodying the iconic skull-faced fantasy villain who walks a line between genuine menace and camp. Except, of course, no fan of the property ever wanted Jared Leto as Skeletor, or as his more fleshy pre-transformation counterpart Keldor for that matter. So bankrollers Amazon and Sony should be sweating bullets right about now, as the name and visage of Jared Leto has been tainted in the eyes of the mass audience. That may not be entirely fair. This very piece even concludes. With Ares flopping, the insider says Leto's currency in town has run colder than Morbius vampire blood. To be clear, the flameout of Tron isn't Leto's burden alone. "You could have had Ryan Gosling, it wasn't going to work," says the first agency partner. "No one asked for this reboot. If you say Tron Ares is good, we just needed a different actor, you're deluding yourself." That's true for Morbius as well, and to a lesser extent Suicide Squad, though Leto was instrumental in coming up with a vision for the Joker that the audience simply did not respond to. What this all boils down to for Hollywood though is that however talented Jared Leto may be, and however much he may excel in more artistic fare like Dallas Buyers Club, he does not have the charisma needed to be a leading man. Yet a little too many times Hollywood has elevated him to that role, and he isn't the only one. A big problem that Hollywood has right now is that there are no more movie stars. And that's not for lack of trying. Lord knows they've been trying to manufacture stars for years now, as indeed Hollywood always has. It's just that in recent time, with the likes of Rachel Zegler and Pedro Pascal, they simply haven't been successful at it. And I submit that is yet another indication of the power players and key decision makers being out of touch with the audience, which indeed is the main root cause behind all of Hollywood's recent troubles. And those troubles run far deeper than Jared Leto. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. And before you go, remember to protect your online privacy, so use our link surfshark.com/midnight. Or use code MIDNIGHT at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN for free.